Hi, it's Sean Herndon with Winston Dana Keller Williams, and today I'm here with Randy, the expert on piers and docks. And today we got some important questions we're going to go over to help you understand what you need to know about Lake Norman, Duke, and docks and piers. Hey Randy, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you're giving us to kind of go over these things. These are questions we get all the time, and there's a lot of misinformation online as well that we have come across. We would have clients in like California, and they go in there, it's like permits and stuff like that, and just scares them. So I really appreciate you spending a little time to help us kind of clear the air in a sense on this.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So first off, first question is, one question that we do get a lot is, what is the process to get a dock or pier approved on Lake Norman, and what kind of cost should a buyer or homeowner expect?
So it's a lot for one question, but we typically start with the design, and then we have to go through a process with each county, and each county has a little bit of a different regulation. But we have to get a building permit ultimately, and then we have to submit all that as a package in the Duke Energy.
Another question that we get is, if a homeowner has a dock but needs to do some repairs, what kind of type of permitting is needed for that?
Yeah, so this has been a change most recently. As of September 1st of last year, 2020, Duke Energy has made a new rule that says if you're going to do a repair of a float or any sort of minor repair, no matter how minor, they actually are requiring you to get a permit. The only thing that is not permittable when it becomes to a repair are handrails.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, what if a homeowner needs to dredge to accommodate a different sizes of boats out there? What does the homeowner need to know about that?
So there's a lot that goes into dredging. Dredging, you have to go to up to 6 different agencies, Duke Energy being the last and final agency. However you dredge and whatever area you dredge, it has to be within the footprint or around the footprint of your dock. And it also, if you're dredging to a certain water depth, let's say in your slip, for example, you have to go find that water depth somewhere outside of that slip to make it match, so that dredge cut will drain. So,
and those are kind of things that someone can go through you to also arrange?
Yeah, we're happy to take a look at the project from a larger standpoint to say, okay, this is going to require dredging, and in a lot of cases we try to design a dock so it doesn't require dredging, because dredging adds an additional expense to the project. But if there's a way that we can manipulate the design so the dock design can reach out to deeper water, we'll try to go for that first.
Okay. Now, how big can a person build? Can I have a roof?
Yeah. So again, Duke Energy has quite a few rules and regulations around this subject, but I'm going to answer the simplest one first. You can have a roof. You can have an upper deck. There are some HOAs in some communities that would actually prevent you from having a roof. So those are more HOA specific regulations, but not a Duke Energy regulation. So Duke Energy really will look at the total square footage from a bird's eye view and how much you're shading the lake starting at the high water mark. So Duke Energy really will look at the total square footage from a bird's eye view and how much you're shading the lake starting at the high water mark. So if you have a little portion that's on the shore, they would not count that towards your total square footage, but they're going to start at the high water mark. So to give you an example, it's different for each lake, but let's take Lake Norman, for example. That's the 760 contour line. So from that point going forward, anything that shades the lake, they're going to count towards your square footage. Now, as to how much you can have up to 1 square foot for every linear foot of shoreline, with a maximum being 1,000 square feet. So 100 linear feet of shoreline, you can have 1,000 square feet of covered shaded area over the water. That's a very generic and basic way to answer that question, but there are other rules that would affect that answer based on when that lot was recorded. But that's a simple answer, 1,000 square feet for every linear square feet of shore.
With a maximum of 1,000.
Maximum of 1,000, including that roofed area.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. So when it comes to the square footage or the shaded area, that maximum can be is 1,000. That doesn't matter how many levels.
Well, you can't have more than 2 levels.
You can't have more than 2.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you could not have a upper deck and then another roof on top of that. So the upper deck would be the maximum. And another thing that people don't understand sometimes, if there's a dock underneath a roof, you're not counting that area twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So another thing to do is just talk to him if you have any questions, because a lot of things can, especially when you get into your HOAs as well, we got to talk to them. But definitely come to Randy if you have additional questions.
It's very rare that the HOAs would limit you on roofs, but it does happen in some communities.
Okay. Now, how long does it take typically to go through the process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I explain this to all my clients. So after we go through a design and proposal process, which is up to a week, typically in some cases 2 weeks, depending on how much we're going back and forth. After that, once you approve a proposal, we'll start with the permitting process. That permitting process will take up to 5 weeks. And then after that, you go into a queue, whether you're building a project with our company or with anybody else's company. Most people do have a backlog if they're good.
Okay.
And that backlog could be whatever series of months. And then once the project starts, if it's a dock, if we're just talking about a dock and not a dredge or a seawall, if it's just a dock, that process typically takes about 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, depending on what we're doing. Multiple roofs, one roof, boat lifts, those type of things. Seawalls, when we do a seawall, those are typically very short projects. I mean, anywhere from, if it's a riprap project on a typical 100 linear foot shoreline, it might take us a day and a half. A dredge could take up to a week. But so the dock, having all those little components that have to come together, that's going to take the most amount of time.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Now, what happens if I have shoreline erosion? Do I need a permit to address that?
Yeah. So what we're seeing this a lot. We have a lot of riprap projects or vertical wall projects, and what's happening is the wakeboard boats and what changes in the weather, it seems, has caused the shoreline to erode more rapidly as of late. But maybe it's mostly due to just the more boats in the lake, deeper V-hole patterns, bigger engines causing wakeboard traffic. Those are causing some massive waves eroding the shoreline. So we're seeing a lot of riprap projects, a lot of shoreline enhancement projects. So that process is much the same. You have to get a permit for that, and that permit by itself, you have to go now to Army Corps of Engineers first, Division of Water Quality second. Each one of those is about 30-day process, and then a stop to Duke Energy. So that whole process from a permitting standpoint is about 90 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really need to be committed from day one that you're going to do a project like that. And is there a cost throughout that whole process?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a sister company called Lake Permits Plus, where we do consulting and we do nothing but permits and dock inspections. So we usually will turn that over to our permitting specialist to have them manage that. And if you have not done permitting before, there's a bit of a learning curve to it. I mean, certainly I think anybody can do it. But if you have the time to learn and want to invest your time like that, sure. But most people are just turning it over to us and say, just take care of it. So that's been happening a lot.
No, I know a couple homes that we've gone out, and the homes have been there since day one of the lake, and they have pylons that you can see have been driven down, but they're starting to create craters behind them of water kind of going in between and sweeping out. So then you have this gap between the pylons that were there originally holding the ground and a space to the ground.
Right.
So it's creating like these little pockets.
Yeah, so if you're talking like a vertical seawall maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what happens is, you might have the lumber that stays in place for some number of years, maybe that's a 30 or 35, 40-year-old wall, but behind it, the fabric that, assuming there was fabric, that truly does the heavy lifting and holding back the soil, maybe that's corroded and eroded, and then when the waves come in, it scours the water back and forth and pulls that dirt out, and then everything sort of collapses behind it, and then it pulls the gravel out. So it's a process. It probably just means it's time for a new wall.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, how do I transfer a permit, or is there a process that you have to go through to transfer a permit?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, so if everything is done legally, the owner of record should have a Duke Energy permit in their name, and a kind of like a lease agreement. I don't know if it's technically a lease, but it's a separate thing where you're agreeing to uphold the regulations of the Duke Energy mandate from FERC. Okay, so you're agreeing to kind of follow the rules. So it's a two-part application. One's a transfer, and one's that kind of agreement that you're agreeing to withhold the rules. So that transfer, though, when you close on your property, it doesn't automatically transfer. And this is a mistake that a lot of people are making, is they think that the attorney's just taking care of it, or the real estate agent's taking care of it. And that's not true at all. Attorney has nothing to do with this. It doesn't transfer with the property. So when you close on that property, you're now the owner of record. You need to file this application, and that application can be found. I can give it to you in our office, or it's actually found on the Duke Energy website very easily.
Yeah, if you just send us the link, we'll attach it to the video.
Yeah, so it's a very simple download, and it costs $350.
Okay.
But they don't require a survey in that case, and I think you don't have to even give them a design in that case. It's just sign it here. You're basically just saying, I'm the new owner, here's my information. If you need to contact me, I'm the one.
Okay, good. So definitely, if you are, even if you didn't work through us, if you need that permit and need more questions, definitely reach out to Randy. We'll include the link there with this video as well, so we have that information. So thanks for bringing that up. It's always good. There's always these little nuances of when you buy on the lake. And
there are, and what I'm running into a lot is so many people just don't even know. They don't know that they even had to transfer into their name, and that just ends up, not necessarily becoming a problem. I mean, we figure it out, but it's just something that needs to be handled.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the inspection process with Duke?
So it's two parts. What happens is whether it be a seawall, dredge, or dock permit application, that's a construction application, Duke Energy will actually make a site visit to the property, and they're going to ascertain what's out there right now. Okay. Then they're going to take that data, and then they're going to issue the owner of record a permit saying, yes, go ahead and construct this project, whether it's a dredge, seawall, or dock. And they give you a certain period of time, typically 1 year, 12 months. They already will place you on an inspection calendar for the first quarter following the expiration of that permit letter. Okay, so that inspection's already kind of set. Someone's coming out there after that 12-month period. Typically a third party. A lot of times it's not even the Duke Energy Lake Reps, although it can be, but they have a third-party service that's going out there with their approval letter in hand. And what they're looking for is they want to make sure that you have constructed or built whatever you said you were going to, just like a normal inspector might. Yeah. So they're not really looking for, if it were a dock, for example, they're not looking for the nuts and bolts or what kind of material you use. That doesn't matter to them. They're mostly concerned about how is this dock positioned? Is it interfering with anybody's riparian rights? Are the projection lines, is it within projection lines for that property? Is the footprint like what we said we were going to do, or did we build a little extra? They're going to look for those things. And if it's not exactly what it's supposed to be, then we've got to either resubmit or tear something out, depending on the scenario. But yeah, so I know with Life Marine, we're pretty serious about that. So if there's a change along the way, we'll probably go ahead and try to resubmit a permit even before we're done, and just get it right from the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. So with that, when someone's looking at a house and there's not an obvious dock in the back, but they do see some pylons that are out in the water.
Yeah.
can an individual say, okay, you're in a better chance to get approval for a dock if there's at least something in the water, or is it better just that it's just a blank slate?
So when you start a new construction application, it is essentially starting from zero.
Okay.
Because those pilings or that structure that was old, that was in the water, might have been from such a long time ago that the minute we're starting a new application, there's new rules that apply to today's docks.
So there's no like grandfather.
There is a quote unquote grandfather status. They refer to it as a non-complying or non-compliance dock. That's how, and what that simply means is, and this is a big question, I get this a lot, and there's quite a few non-conforming docks out there. And one way that a dock might be non-conforming, just for an example purpose for this answer, is it might be oversized. So it might be 1,500 square feet. So you wouldn't be able to build that dock today. But if that dock had been legally permitted and it has been transferred and in that person's name, that owner has the right to repair or replace that same footprint.
Oh, okay.
Repair or replace exactly the same without making any changes.
Okay.
That means both width and elevation height. That means also going from fixed to a floating. You can't go from a fixed to a floating dock even if it were exactly the same footprint.
Oh, that's interesting.
You could not add a roof even if it was already covered. So they don't want any changes, both in height or width at all.
All right, so again, go to Randy if you have any questions.
Those are the tough ones, honestly, that you probably want to talk to someone like me, if not me, because we definitely have a better gauge for what's going to be allowable. You know, not that I say that there's things to get away with, because there isn't. In fact, if I had to say, over the years, they've kept things really black and white. That's what they have to do, because they want to treat you the same way as they treat the neighbor.
Yeah.
Has to be the same.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is we got to look at dock density. We got to look at, I know they at the same time, not just they want to stay to make sure that we're not overcrowding the lake, but we want to ensure that we keep aesthetics, people safe, that marine life, everything else.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different things that they have, and ultimately they're making power too. So so they got all these different factors.
I think really there are a lot of misconceptions and myths. Duke Energy is not a scary agency. They have a set of rules that have been mandated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and Duke Energy is mandated to enforce those rules. These rules are downloadable. They're in black and white, and as long as you follow those rules and we propose and build projects within those rules, there's nothing scary about it.
So if my pier dock doesn't have a tag, which we run into this all the time, does that mean it isn't allowed?
Yeah, good question. So tags are a good sign. I get this a lot when I'm doing dock inspections or people that have a grandfather dock that insist that they want to just add a little. So what ends up happening is that the fact that a dock does not have a tag doesn't mean that it hasn't been permitted, because that tag was just nailed in, and nails rust and they fall off, and doesn't mean. So what really matters is that we have to find out what Duke Energy has on file. What is the last recorded entry in their file? And then we need to verify that that's what that dock is out there, and it hasn't been modified. Now, if it has been modified, that would tell me that someone has done a modification without a permit, and that's a problem. Okay, because that's a problem when, certainly in a buying-selling situation where I'm in a lot, where I'm doing consulting for a transaction, I'll see that a lot, where we have to compare. We'll get the seller to provide the last recorded Duke Energy permit, and then we'll kind of match what's out there. And what you'll find, and I've been told by some Duke Energy lake reps, that about 1 in 5 docks are non-compliant in that way.
Wow.
Like there's been some illegal modifications done. Someone's added a roof without a permit, or extended a finger, or removed something, and they've done this without a permit, well, that's all going to catch up with that property at some time. Yeah. So so if it doesn't have a tag, so tags are a good indication. I look for that, certainly, absolutely, but it's not conclusive. Yeah, we'll need to dig further.
So if someone is, looking at a home, they see there's a dock, where's the tag typically placed?
Yeah, so you have to think like a boat. So you would think as if you were a boat, and what would be the most logical place for, if you were a boat and you wanted to look at a dock and see the tag, typically at the ends or on the side of fingers. Okay. The dock fingers. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes they're on pilings, so look for it on a piling. All right. Sometimes if it's an oddly shaped dock, sometimes the fixed pier might be protruding more than the floating or ramp portion, so it might be at the end of the fixed pier. Okay. So there's a couple spots, but think like a boat would be if you're looking at a dock, what's the most likely place for it to be?
And is there certain colors, or is there a certain just for someone to catch their eye on? I know sometimes they get rusted out, and like I say, they do fall off, but is there anything particular that they can?
It looks like a miniature license plate. It's a white background, red lettering. Okay. Yeah, and oftentimes you're right. They do get disguised and painted over and stained over and rusted, and but you'll find them. If you look hard enough, you'll find them. Yeah.
One of the things that was suggested to me, which I thought was a great idea, is that if you see a tag and you're a homeowner, take a picture of it. At least have it on file somehow. Mm-hmm. If it does get rusted, or you come in, you accidentally hit it and it pops off, at least you have a picture of it.
Yeah, because I think the record keeping for Duke Energy has gotten remarkably better over the last, say, decade. But prior to that, their record keeping what might have been held to a little looser standard. So when you call about some of these old docks, they're going to want you to give them a tag number. A property address just doesn't cut it sometimes. So if you can't provide that tag number, then they might say, well, as far as we're concerned, you haven't proved that there's been any permit history on this facility, so sorry, there is no permit history. Wow. So if you had that tag number and you were able to provide that, they might, oh, okay, we found it. So so it is important. Yeah.
So again, I want to say thank you so much for your time and going over these questions. And just in case anyone has any more questions or want to actually utilize your services, what's the best way they can contact you, Randy?
They can contact our office, Life Marine. We have a showroom in Denver, store location. We have an office in Cornelius, and we do work all around the lake, Lake Wiley, Mountain Island Lake, and Lake Norman.
All right, awesome. And a good phone
I don't know our phone number, office phone number. I know that's there it is, 704-360-3638.
And honestly,
call the office.
Yeah, I'm the same way, unfortunately. I do know my cell phone number, that's about it. But and what we'll do is we'll also add all his contact information in the description below. And also leave some comments. If you have any questions, definitely put them with the video here. We'll get them answered. But if you have anything to do with the water and property with decks, piers, seawalls, definitely Randy is the person to reach out to. So again, thank you guys for watching, and we look forward to you on the next video. Bye-bye.